Morning, people. Bright and early today, we are looking at a shit hits the fan account, maybe a rainy day account or emergency fund, whatever you want to term it. This is something that doesn't get done a lot, and there's obviously 1,000 different types of data to research and read from, but a lot of it suggests that most Kiwis don't actually have an emergency fund to be able to call on should something happen to your income. And that's obviously a big problem because obviously what we're seeing at the moment is that is happening for a lot of people. And so you'll read stories in the media. They love telling stories about people losing their income and asking the question, how am I going to support my family? How have I got myself into this position? Well, they don't actually ask them that. They, how can we be expected to live? This is completely unfair, etc., etc., etc. And as a reader, you tend to agree and think, yeah, this is horrendous. Like, I can't believe this person's in this position. But realistically, if we want to take 100% responsibility for our financial position, we know that people should be preparing for bad shit to happen in their life because it's inevitable. So it might not be you losing your job completely. It might just be that, mate of mine at the moment, bang, has to have his wisdom teeth come out, $4,000, thank you. Whoa, who's got $4,000 lying around? So that's the sort of thing you want to be building into an emergency fund or a shit hits the fan account, rainy day fund, to make sure that when that comes, sweet, you don't even need to think about it. So part of doing this is actually more around giving yourself peace of mind and building a psychological advantage for when a tough time does come. Because basically, when a tough time comes and you don't have the money to pay for it, you go down a negative path in your mind of, how am I going to pay for that? And you start to freak out and go into fear and panic mode. So if you don't have to do that, your life looks completely different. So your thought process is different. An issue arises and you know instantly you've already got it solved because you've been planning to solve it over time. So straight away, you don't need to go down the negative path of, I'm never going to be able to pay for this. I can't believe this has happened. How am I supposed to deal with this? This is completely unfair. All of that done, gone. Oh shit, $4,000, sweet. I better dip into my emergency fund. I'll use that to pay for it, and I'll start building it back up on the other side of it. Happy days, carry on. You feel better as a person. You have less stress. Stress obviously isn't a healthy thing for humans to have. So a lot of problems can be solved by having one of these funds. So I'm going to show you how to think about doing it. Anywhere you Google online about building an emergency fund, you'll find different literature and different examples of how much you should put aside. Often something we talk about with our business clients is aiming towards having 3 months of your expenses. So you probably don't even know how to calculate that because you haven't thought about it previously, but I'm going to show you how using one of the templates that you've already got through Keep the Change. So I'll dive into that now, and we can have a look at the financial position template, which you should have, and the cash flow, and how to think about this. So basically, as you know, all of your expenses are listed up here, and these are done week to week in this template, but you might just want to look at however you're structuring it. But if you were to cost up all of these expenses over a month's time, that would come to $3,500. Now, if you were aiming to have 3 months of that, then you wouldn't times it by you would times it out, obviously, by 3. But you just need to factor in the fact that there can be different amounts of weeks in a month. So you do want to times that out by the right multiple. But it would give you a very good baseline to start with. So the second part to you doing that is you want to think, right, well, if the shit was to really hit the fan, am I still going to be paying my insurance? Probably. My credit card, and we've got nothing in here at the moment, but you need to go through and work out what things you are paying and what things you can get rid of. So advertising, well, I'm probably not going to be doing any more of my advertising if the shit really hits the fan for me. I'm probably going to go back into my shell a little bit and figure out how I can, keep myself afloat. Some syndicates that I'm paying money into, they're probably going to go. But can I get rid of my rent? Well, I've got a couple of weeks paid in advance, so I'm probably okay there. I can factor that in. Then I've still got to keep paying my rent, whatever that is, some food, some power, some entertainment, These are obviously all just template figures, but you need to go through and work it out based on the expenses that you have going out and work out what it is that goes out every month. And in business, we often talk about that being a break even. So whatever the costs are that you have to pay, how much income do you need to basically clear those every month? So you could probably get rid of some of these things and go, right, well, I'm not going to be paying into that. I'm going to say, sorry, team, they're gone. My true cost to me, I'm going to keep paying my rent every week. I don't want to rely on my rent that I've already paid in advance. I'll just extend that back out. And you will sum up all of those, and you've got about 3.5 that I'm probably going to keep paying my insurance. I'm not going to be able to save any money because that's going to be pretty tough. So if I have a look at that total over 4 weeks, I am looking at, I just checked this down here, still looking at about $3,400. So that is obviously quite a scary figure to think about. And then especially if you're going to times that out by 3 to 4 months, you're actually looking at, let's say you want to try and target 15 grand. That's instantly why people don't do this, because they think, shit, that's so unachievable, and they won't actually go down the path of trying to figure out how to put that together. So don't let that figure scare you. From there, you've got that as a target. You want to set up a separate account. So you should have a separate account where you're funneling some money into this. You might decide until you've got your figure built up, you want to start putting extra money into that account. So you might have it automated, so 3% of your income is going straight into there, and then you've got. So you want to build this up and leave it there as a buffer, and you don't want to touch it. You got to keep your hand off it. You read about that in Money Mail coming up. So once it's there, you've done it, and then you can carry back on with your other savings goals and things like that. But as you know, that 15 grand, even 1 month, 3 or 4 grand, that's quite a lot of money to have just sitting in a separate account. So let's say you decide, okay, I'm going to try and do that over a year. You might work out, right, I'm going to put $100 to $200 aside a week and just put it into that account, and I'm not going to touch it. So that account, you might decide, actually, I don't want to do that account. I want to make it a Sharesies account or something like that, and you're actually going to put it into a fund where you can grow it over time, and you might get some compounded gains and increases. Obviously, there's risk that comes with that, as hopefully you understand. But you want to make sure that wherever that money is, it's liquid, so you can grab it if you really need to. And it's not a fund that you just jump into because, you know, the latest duvet came on sale, or your mates are going on a trip and you decide you do want to go now and you're going to use your emergency fund. That is not what it's for. It is built there so that when the shit does hit the fan, you can keep your mind clear and carry on, and you don't need to worry. And as all the reporters write in the media about these people that can't afford to live, you know, week to week and month to month, and this is everybody else's fault. Like, we have to take responsibility for this for ourselves, and you'll feel so much better about your finances. So it's a great win to put on the board for yourself, even just to build in some more confidence. And usually confidence with money ties back to confidence in other areas in your life. So a really small, simple hack, and a great way to structure some of your finance as well, to give you a bit more confidence with what you're up to as well. That's one thing is often said to be the thing that actually gets people on their financial journey, because once they see that they can do it, they think, well, I could just apply the same thing to a credit card, get rid of that debt. I could apply this to my car loan, get rid of that. You know, so it's the same sort of methodology, but it's obviously a very good thing to do to give you peace of mind. And there's obviously a number of different figures you can target, like I said at the start, but you need to think for yourself, okay, what do you want to aim for? 3 months might be too much. You might know in yourself, you know, if I lost my job, wasn't getting paid for 3 months, I'll be out there collecting cash at the corner under the street lights. I don't need to aim for 3 months. I only need to aim for 1 or 2, just to give myself time to get myself back on my feet. So it doesn't need to be 3 months, but it does need to be enough that it's going to give you a decent runway to get yourself back on track. And so you might even think, right, if I was to lose my income, I'll be straight out of my property. I'll be out of here. I'll be straight back to my family or friends or something, so I can instantly get rid of my rent cost. And you need to be thinking about those things as well when you're doing this. But, you know, if you've got a mortgage, for instance, well, then, hey, maybe you can't do that. But there's always obviously other solutions to aim for. So have a think about that. Definitely set up a different account to put that money into. Personally, I put it into Sharesies, and I used to put it into bonus bonds, but it's a pretty nil product in my opinion, and I can write about that and talk about that another time. But it was just something I had set up as a young fella and continue to put money into. But I've put it into Sharesies now. I can still grab it if I need to. Of course, there is risk that it will go down. Recently, I popped my shoulder playing football, and the shit hit the fan for me. So all of a sudden, physio appointments, X-rays, instant doctor's fees from late night, emergency doctor's appointment. So I got cleaned out. So I cleaned out my shit hit the fan account pretty quickly and had to build it back up. So I was paying for those out of my shit hit the fan account because I wasn't budgeting for that elsewhere. But I know that money's come out, it has to go back in. So then I start the build to get it back in there. But you have that peace of mind when things happen. Okay, I can take care of myself. And most Kiwis can't say that. And that's really, really sad. And we want to say, well, that's, that you shouldn't have to do that. That's, that's bullshit. Well, try telling that to the doctor when you go there and say, mate, I didn't plan for this. I didn't plan for this to happen, so I'm not paying for your x-ray. They'll say, well, you want a broken nose as well. Get out of here. So you got to be realistic about this stuff. And it's hard because people don't really like to talk about it. And that's how we end up in these positions as people and as a nation. So we've got to sort this shit out one person at a time. That starts with ourselves. But going back to the fund, one thing you can do to speed it up is so say you go, right, I need 15 grand in there. Even just say you go, it's 5 grand in there. You go, if I put $100 a week, it's going to be 5 grand. It's going to take me 12 months to get there. Speed it up. Look around the house. What have I got that I don't need anymore? I'm going to bin that. Can I do some overtime at work? How can I start this fan account in place? So make it a game. Gamify it for yourself. We love doing that as humans. Can I bin some of the stuff that I've got around here that I really know that I don't need? Can I go and do a little bit of side hustle income? Can I do some extra time at work? Can I get rid of some expenses I don't need to be paying just for 6 months? Just tidy this up and build this up, build this into my life. So think how fast you can do it. Think about the ways you can skin the cat and get it in place. And when you know that you've got it in place, it's gonna make your life a lot easier. So definitely have a crack at it and do it sooner rather than later if you're not already doing it. And you'll feel better for it. I'd love to hear some stories of how people are doing it themselves. Leave them in the comments. You might have some different thoughts about how to go about it. I'd love to hear those as well. There is no one size fits all, but it's a very good way to do it. Your 2 core fundamentals are obviously working out what your expenses are each month that you're not going to be able to get rid of and building up a buffer for those, and then banging it into a separate account so that it's separate and you're not touching it. You're not allowed to touch it because that defeats the purpose of doing it. And then C, if you want to try and automate that, so you make sure you do it so it's a portion of your income every pay period or however till you get rid of it. And if you want to go a step further, speed it up, then you want to get rid of some stuff around the house or whatever and try and pay it off faster. So hopefully that's helpful. As I say, any feedback, drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear it. Go well, get your shit hits the fan account in order.